Have you ever wondered what happens when two completely different artists join forces? Sometimes the most unexpected collaborations create the most unforgettable moments in music history. Opposing styles, different visions, even contrasting personalities, when they collide in the right way, something magical happens. In today's video, we'll explore surprising collaborations that no one saw coming but turned out to be massive successes.
In music, some collaborations are expected. Artists with similar styles, shared audiences, or the same genre. But every now and then, a pairing comes along that makes everyone stop and say, "Wait, really?" And somehow, that surprising partnership doesn't just work, it explodes into something unforgettable. In this episode of Stereo Pedia, we dive into the world of unexpected successful collaborations, the ones that made no sense on paper but created magic in practice. 1. The power of contrast, extended version. In music and in fashion, film, and even life, contrast is powerful. It's where tension lives, where surprise is born. And when it comes to collaboration, contrast can be the very thing that unlocks genius. Some of the greatest and most unexpected musical collaborations didn't happen because the artists were similar. They happened because they were different, wildly, beautifully, even jarringly different. Different genres, different tempos, different cultures, different eras. On paper, they shouldn't work, but that's exactly why they do. Contrast creates chemistry. When a soft, soulful vocalist pairs with a gritty rapper. When a rock band shares the mic with a hip-hop legend. When a classical violin meets an electronic beat. It's not about blending into sameness. It's about each artist bringing something so unique to the table that the final result becomes something entirely new, something neither one could have created alone. Think of it like mixing colors. Blue and red are beautiful on their own, but put them together and you get purple, a bold and royal hue that didn't exist until those two forces collided. Contrast forces artists to adapt, to listen, to let go of ego, and to find common ground in the music. It introduces friction, but friction creates spark. It creates movement. It pushes artists out of their comfort zones and into new creative territory. Sometimes that means two artists with different fan bases come together and expand each other's worlds. Other times, it means blending two cultures or generations and showing how music can bridge any divide. The magic of contrast also lies in the element of surprise. Audiences love the unexpected. When they hear that two seemingly opposite artists have teamed up, it creates anticipation,
curiosity.
And when the music delivers, it's not just a song. It becomes an event. In a world where so much feels predictable, contrast cuts through the noise. It's refreshing. It's exciting. And when handled with mutual respect and intention, it's pure alchemy. So the next time you hear about a collaboration that sounds strange or unlikely, don't dismiss it. Lean in. That contrast might just be the secret ingredient to something unforgettable. Because in music, as in life, sometimes the most powerful harmony is born from opposites daring to meet. 2. Run DMC and Aerosmith. Walk This Way. Extended version. In 1986, something unexpected shook the music world, something that seemed, at the time, impossible. Two artists from completely different universes met at the edge of a beat and created a moment that redefined music history. On one side, Aerosmith, rock royalty. White, long-haired, electric guitar-wielding legends from the world of hard rock and blues. On the other, Run DMC, hip-hop pioneers from Queens, New York. Streetwise, sharp-tongued, and reshaping music through rhythm, rhyme, and raw attitude. They shouldn't have worked together. They shouldn't have even been in the same studio. But that's what made it powerful. Producer Rick Rubin, A visionary who saw potential in chaos had the radical idea to merge the two worlds. At the time, hip-hop was still seen as underground, even disposable. Rock was the mainstream. And Rubin believed that bridging the two could do more than just sell records. It could change perceptions. So he brought Run DMC into the studio, played them Aerosmith's 1975 hit, Walk This Way, and suggested they rap over it. At first, they hated it. To them, it sounded like old white rock stuff, a sound that had nothing to do with their identity, their culture, or their message. But Rubin insisted. And slowly, they began to understand this wasn't about abandoning hip-hop, it was about expanding it. And when Steven Tyler's vocals and Joe Perry's iconic guitar riffs blasted through their verses, something clicked. What emerged wasn't just a remix. It was a collision of sound, swagger, and history. Walk This Way became an instant hit, not just on the radio, but in culture. The music video itself became symbolic. The now iconic scene where a brick wall separates Aerosmith and Run DMC until it's literally broken down. That wall wasn't just part of the set. It represented race,
genre,
generational divide. And when it came crashing down, it told the world. Music has no walls. The collaboration did more than just top the charts. It introduced hip-hop to rock fans and rock to hip-hop audiences. It broke rap into MTV's rotation. It validated hip-hop in the eyes of the mainstream. And it showed that musical innovation doesn't come from playing it safe. It comes from stepping into the unknown. Run DMC didn't lose their identity by working with Aerosmith. They expanded it. And Aerosmith? The song revived their career and brought them back into the spotlight. Both sides gained. Both sides grew. And audiences were forever changed. So, why does Walk This Way matter so much in the history of collaboration? Because it set the tone. It proved that genre doesn't have to divide. That art thrives when we challenge what's expected. And that sometimes the most powerful sound comes from two worlds crashing together and finding harmony in the noise. 3. Lil Nas X and Billy Ray Cyrus, Old Town Road, extended version. In early 2019, a song emerged from the internet that sounded like a meme, but quickly became a movement. It was unexpected. It was playful. It was catchy in a way that refused to be ignored. The song? Old Town Road. The artist? A young, unknown musician named Lil Nas X, who had recorded the track using a beat he bought for $30 on the internet. The sound was odd, twangy banjo strings over trap drums, lyrics about horses and lean, cowboy hats, and Gucci Wranglers. It didn't fit anywhere, and that was the point. At first, the music world didn't know what to do with it. Country radio stations didn't want to play it. Billboard removed it from the country charts, arguing that it didn't embrace enough elements of today's country music. But the people? They couldn't stop listening. The song spread like wildfire on TikTok, on YouTube, in memes. It became the soundtrack to a new kind of rebellion, where the internet ignored industry rules and crowned its own star. But then something surprising and powerful happened. Enter Billy Ray Cyrus. A country music veteran best known for Achy Breaky Heart, Billy Ray didn't just feature on a remix. He offered validation. He embraced the song's weirdness, its genre-bending charm, and its spirit of youthful mischief. He didn't try to fix it. He just jumped on a horse and rode alongside Lil Nas X. The result? A remix that didn't just become a hit. It became a phenomenon. Old Town Road shattered records, becoming the longest-running #1 single in Billboard Hot 100 history. 19 weeks at the top. Countless remixes. And an entire generation singing about horses and tractors, across cultures, genres, and platforms. But this was more than a viral song. It was a cultural breakthrough. Because Old Town Road wasn't just unexpected in its sound. It was unexpected in its message. It challenged what a country song could be. It questioned who gets to be included in a genre. And most importantly, it blurred the lines between black and white music, between digital and traditional, between mainstream and internet culture. Billy Ray Cyrus didn't just lend his voice, he lent credibility, proving that country music didn't have to be exclusive. And Lil Nas X, with all his confidence, charisma, and cleverness, became a symbol of how young artists can redefine the rules on their own terms. Together, they created a remix that wasn't just musically successful, it was historically important. It spoke to outsiders, to rule breakers, to every kid with GarageBand and a dream, to every artist who's been told they don't fit the format. So when we talk about unexpected successful collaborations, this one is a blueprint. Because when two artists from completely different worlds meet at the crossroads of creativity and choose to ride together, they don't just make music. They make history. 4. Linkin Park and Jay-Z, Numb/Encore, extended version. By the early 2000s, Linkin Park and Jay-Z stood as giants, but on opposite sides of the musical spectrum. Linkin Park was the voice of a generation wrapped in pain, angst, and guitar-driven intensity. Their sound was a fusion of rock, metal, and electronic elements, raw emotion expressed through Chester Bennington's powerful vocals and Mike Shinoda's introspective rap. Jay-Z, meanwhile, was already a living legend in hip-hop, a master of smooth flow, confident swagger, and razor-sharp lyricism. He was polished, composed, strategic. His voice moved differently, but with just as much force. On the surface, it looked like these two musical forces had nothing in common. But what they shared, deep down, was energy. The hunger, the grit, the desire to say something real and unforgettable. So when MTV's Mashup project brought them together in 2004, it wasn't just a one-off experiment. It became a moment of genre-bending brilliance. The track they created, Numb/Encore, was a masterpiece in contrast and cohesion. It started with Linkin Park's haunting piano intro from Numb. Cold, moody, full of longing. Then came Jay-Z, flowing over it with lines from his anthem Encore. Slick, confident, timeless. Two completely different emotional tones. One dark, one triumphant. Yet somehow they clicked. It wasn't forced. It wasn't artificial. It was fluid. Numb/Encore did more than just sound good. It sounded fresh, like something new was being born in real time. Jay-Z's verses gave Linkin Park's pain a sense of purpose. And Linkin Park's instrumentals gave Jay-Z's confidence a deeper, more emotional foundation. Together, they didn't water each other down. They amplified one another. The track became a worldwide hit. It won a Grammy Award. And most importantly, it inspired a wave of new artists to believe in genre fusion, not as a gimmick, but as a legitimate form of expression. It gave birth to a generation of musicians who no longer saw boundaries between rock and rap, alternative and mainstream. Instead, they saw a spectrum and the freedom to explore every inch of it. And beyond the music, Numb/Encore reflected something deeper. That vulnerability and strength can coexist. That screaming and swagger can share a stage. That emotion and ambition can live inside the same song. It was a reminder that even when two artists come from different backgrounds, if they listen to each other, something bigger than either of them can be born. This wasn't just a remix. It was a blueprint, a bridge between worlds, a collision of sound, style, and soul. That proved once again, contrast doesn't divide. It builds something new. 5. Lady Gaga and Tony Bennett, Cheek to Cheek, extended version. When you think of Lady Gaga, you might picture a pop powerhouse wrapped in avant-garde fashion, singing anthems on giant stages with thunderous energy and theatrical flair. When you think of Tony Bennett, you think of smooth jazz, velvet suits, and timeless class, an icon from a golden era when music came with martinis and moonlight. So when the world first heard that these two would record a jazz album together, the reaction was mixed. Confusion, curiosity, skepticism. Lady Gaga and Tony Bennett? Really? But what the world didn't know was that behind the glitter, behind the shock value, behind the fame, Lady Gaga had a jazz heart. And Tony? He saw it. Their friendship began backstage at a benefit concert in 2011. Gaga was just finishing her performance when Tony told her, "You're a jazz singer." Not a compliment. Not a guess. A fact. And he was right. In Gaga, Tony found something pure, a voice trained in emotion, shaped by pain, and eager for tradition. And in Tony, Gaga found something safe, a place to sing without judgment, without costumes, without spectacle. Just music. What followed was a full-length jazz album titled Cheek to Cheek, released in 2014. It wasn't a pop-jazz mashup. It was the real thing, a tribute to the great American songbook. Ella Fitzgerald, Louis Armstrong, Cole Porter, Duke Ellington. Gaga didn't try to outshine Tony. She matched his grace with vulnerability. She sang not to impress, but to connect. Their chemistry was immediate, a fusion of generations, styles, and spirits. On stage and in the studio, they danced vocally, leaning into each other like old friends at midnight. She brought fire. He brought calm. Together, they brought timelessness. And audiences felt it. Cheek to Cheek debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200, earning them a Grammy Award for Best Traditional Pop Vocal Album. But the real magic wasn't in the charts. It was in the way it changed the narrative. Lady Gaga was no longer just a pop provocateur. She was an artist, capable of intimacy, restraint, and elegance. And Tony Bennett, in the twilight of his life, found new relevance, not by reinventing himself, but by inviting someone else in. Their collaboration continued in later years, even as Tony faced the devastating realities of Alzheimer's. In 2021, at age 95, he performed with Gaga one last time at Radio City Music Hall in a concert called One Last Time. He remembered the music. He remembered her. And the world remembered why this collaboration mattered. Because it wasn't just about jazz. It was about trust, about legacy, about what happens when two artists from opposite ends of the spectrum meet at the center of the human experience. Cheek to Cheek taught us that an unexpected pairing isn't just about surprise, it's about vulnerability shared across time. And in the soft glow of jazz, Lady Gaga and Tony Bennett didn't just sing songs. They told a story. One note, one breath, one eternal moment at a time. 6. BTS and Halsey, Boy with Love, extended version. In the global music landscape, few names shine as brightly as BTS, the South Korean septet that turned K-pop into a worldwide movement. But their journey to global domination wasn't built on hype alone. It was built on connection. With each other, with their fans, and with unexpected collaborators like Halsey. In 2019, BTS released a track that would shift the tone of their sound and cement their place on the global pop stage. Boy with Love, featuring American singer-songwriter Halsey. At first glance, the collaboration seemed unlikely. Yes, both BTS and Halsey were massive stars. But their worlds were very different. BTS represented Korean artistry, meticulous choreography, poetic lyrics, and emotional storytelling, often sung in Korean. Halsey was a symbol of Western alt-pop rebellion, gritty, raw, emotionally fierce. So when their names appeared side by side, fans were excited, but curious. Would it be authentic? Or just another East meets West marketing move? But the moment the song dropped, all doubt disappeared. From the very first notes, Boy with Love felt like sunshine. Not the blinding kind, but the soft, pastel warmth of a spring morning shared between close friends. The song wasn't about heartbreak or drama. It wasn't loud with ego or pain. It was gentle, joyful, vulnerable. A celebration of appreciating the small things in love. The everyday, the eye contact, the laughter, the little moments that mean everything. And Halsey? She didn't overpower the song. She didn't try to own it. She blended seamlessly into the BTS universe, singing in both English and Korean, dancing alongside them in the video, not as a feature, but as an equal part of their world. The result was stunning. The music video broke YouTube records with over 74 million views in its first 24 hours. The song debuted high on the Billboard charts. And most importantly, it became a cross-cultural moment of sincerity and joy. But Boy with Love wasn't just a hit song. It was a blueprint. It showed how Western and Eastern artists could collaborate respectfully without either side losing identity. It proved that language barriers didn't have to be creative barriers. And it highlighted how music, at its best, is about shared emotion, no matter what continent you're standing on. For BTS, this track marked their most accessible moment for the Western audience, without sacrificing their roots. For Halsey, it was a chance to show her own depth and versatility, not just as a singer, but as a cultural bridge. And for fans around the world, it was a celebration of unity. Not forced. Not political. Not performative. Just real. A reminder that in a world that often feels divided, music can still bring us together through the softest of songs. Boy with Love wasn't explosive. It was tender. And in that tenderness, it became revolutionary. 7. Travis Scott and Fortnite, the virtual concert, extended version. When we talk about music collaborations, we often imagine two artists in a studio, merging melodies and verses. But in 2020, Travis Scott did something different. He didn't just collaborate with another musician. He teamed up with a video game. And together, they created a moment that didn't just redefine performance. It redefined reality. Welcome to the world of Travis Scott x Fortnite, a collaboration between a rapper and a virtual world that became a pop culture phenomenon. Fortnite, the massively popular online multiplayer game, had already dabbled in concerts before. But what they did with Travis wasn't just an event. It was a vision. A fully immersive, cinematic, interactive performance that millions experience live, not through speakers or screens, but inside a digital universe. It was April 23, 2020. The world was in lockdown. Stages were silent. Tours were canceled. And fans everywhere were craving connection. Then it happened. Players logged into Fortnite as usual, equipped with their in-game avatars, building tools and gear. But what unfolded in front of them was anything but ordinary. The sky cracked open. A giant asteroid slammed into the ground. And from the cosmic smoke emerged a colossal Travis Scott, standing hundreds of feet tall, his holographic form lit with flame and rhythm, looming over the crowd like a god of sound and space. But this wasn't just a concert. It was a journey. As Travis performed songs like Sicko Mode, Stargazing, and Highest in the Room, the entire world around players transformed in real time. Waterwave water rose and swept them through neon oceans. Fire flames burst into the sky as beats dropped. Milky Way gravity vanished as they floated through galaxies. Video game, and all the while, they were in it, moving, flying, reacting, dancing. This wasn't a live stream. This was interactive performance art. Over 12 million people attended the first live show, simultaneously. It became the biggest in-game concert of all time. And it didn't stop there. The performance was replayed for a global audience across time zones, eventually reaching tens of millions more on YouTube, Twitch, and social media. But what made this collaboration so unexpectedly successful wasn't just the visuals or numbers. It was how perfectly it fit. Travis Scott, known for his immersive concerts and psychedelic production, didn't just adapt to the Fortnite world, he transcended it. He pushed the limits of what a concert could be. No lines. No crowds. No venues. Just pure digital freedom. It showed that music didn't have to be limited by the physical world. And it proved that artists, when unafraid to experiment, can create something that feels otherworldly and yet deeply human. This wasn't just entertainment. It was evolution. And it opened the door for a new era of collaboration between musicians, technology, gaming, and immersive storytelling. In a time when the world was physically apart, this digital dreamscape gave people a place to gather, to feel, to dance, to remember that music always finds a way, even if that way is through a portal in the Fortnite sky. 8. What makes these work? Extended version. We've heard the stories. Rock meets rap. Country meets trap. Jazz meets pop. A rapper performs inside a video game. On paper, none of it should have worked. And yet, these unexpected collaborations didn't just succeed, they became cultural milestones. So the question is,
Why?
what makes these wildly different pairings feel so right when, logically, they should fall apart? The answer, surprisingly, has little to do with sound and everything to do with soul. Let's break it down. 1. Shared creative curiosity. Every great collaboration begins with mutual curiosity. Not what can you do for me, but what can we discover together? Whether it's Jay-Z vibing with Linkin Park's Darkness or Lady Gaga diving into jazz with Tony Bennett, these artists weren't chasing hits. They were chasing new dimensions of themselves. And when curiosity drives the creative process, it opens the door to unexpected magic. 2. Respect over ego. Ego kills collaboration. But the best unlikely duets happen when both sides bring their strengths, but leave their superiority at the door. Think of Halsey and BTS, not competing for spotlight, but sharing space with grace. Or Billy Ray Cyrus jumping on Old Town Road, not to fix it, but to uplift it. When respect is mutual, ego becomes fuel, not friction. 3. Embracing the unknown. Success in these stories didn't come from playing it safe. It came from embracing creative risk. No one had ever done what Travis Scott did in Fortnite. No one expected a 95-year-old jazz legend to perform with a pop superstar in a bejeweled gown. And yet, those risks weren't reckless. They were intentional acts of expansion. Artists who say yes to the unknown aren't just changing their sound. They're challenging the system and sometimes even history. 4. Bridging audiences, not exploiting them. The best collaborations don't just combine fan bases. They honor both sides. When Run DMC joined Aerosmith, they didn't become rock stars. They brought hip-hop into the light, on their own terms. When BTS and Halsey united, they didn't erase their languages or cultures. They built a song that spoke to both worlds. True collaboration isn't about reaching more people. It's about connecting more deeply. 5. Letting the music lead. And finally, what makes it work is the music itself. Because no matter the genre, the language, or the platform, music is a universal translator. It bypasses logic. It bypasses labels. It speaks directly to feeling. And when two artists find a shared emotional frequency, whether it's joy, rebellion, sorrow, or awe, that's when the song becomes something greater than the sum of its parts. So, what makes these unexpected collaborations work? Not formulas, not algorithms, not boardroom decisions, but risk, respect, and resonance. It's about daring to try something no one asked for, but everyone ends up needing. It's about being open to surprise, and letting that surprise lead the way. Because in music, as in life, the best things often come from the places we never thought to look. 9 final thoughts. The legacy of surprise and sound. In a world that so often rewards the predictable, music remains one of the last places where the unexpected still has the power to stop us in our tracks. A country singer on a trap beat. A hologram towering over a digital crowd. A pop star trading synths for saxophones and jazz. Every time we think we've seen it all, music reminds us. There's always something more. These unexpected collaborations leave behind more than just hit songs. They leave footprints in culture. They teach us that art doesn't live in comfort zones. It thrives at the edges, where ideas collide, where fears dissolve, where rules are broken in the service of truth. They remind us that music isn't just entertainment. It's conversation. It's risk. It's relationship. It's trust between strangers, harmony between opposites, and courage made audible. And most of all, they show us that greatness often arrives without a warning label, without a category, without permission. So, here's to the surprises, to the unlikely duets, to the collaborations that make us ask, wait, how did that even happen? And then answer us with something we didn't even know we needed. Because in the legacy of sound, it's not always the safest choices that echo the loudest. It's the bold ones, the weird ones, the ones that almost didn't make sense, until they did. And maybe that's the real magic of music. Its ability to show us, again and again, that connection can come from anywhere. And that surprise is often where the soul lives. Thanks for tuning in to Stereo Pedia. If you enjoyed this journey through the world's most surprising musical mashups, don't forget to subscribe, share, and stay curious. Because in music, just like in life, sometimes the most beautiful harmony comes from opposites colliding. Until next time, keep listening differently.